It feels like it was just yesterday, but on October 29th, 2023, we left a full 100 years behind us as the Republic of Turkey. Of course, behind this century-old republic stands a massive empire that ruled the world for a full 600 years, the Ottoman Empire. While at the peak of its power in the 16th century, this giant state ruled everywhere from the Middle East to North Africa, and from there to Eastern Europe. Yet it actually started out as a tiny principality in northwestern Anatolia. So what happened that made it grow so huge, and how did it eventually leave its place to today's Turkey? It all began with a great migration. Since ancient times, the Turks set out from East Asia and moved westward toward those boundless Eurasian steppes. While they were around the Altai Mountains in the 7th century, over the hundreds of years that followed, they spread south and west, starting a semi-nomadic life around the Caspian Sea. One of the largest of these migrant tribes was the Oghuz Turks. Toward the end of the 10th century, a great man named Seljuk Bey emerged from this tribe and, saying, "I will carve out my own path," founded his own dynasty. As the Seljuks settled deeper into Persia, they were heavily influenced by the language and culture there. And on top of that, when they accepted Islam, they took on a completely different identity. In the 1060s, they knocked on Byzantium's door, and in that magnificent Battle of Manzikert in 1071, they absolutely crushed the Byzantine army. This very victory opened the gates of Anatolia wide open for the Turks. As time went on, the great Seljuk Empire weakened and fell apart. When the Sultanate of Rum, which was established in its place, was also crushed to pieces by the Mongol invasions, a bunch of small principalities, big and small, popped up all over Anatolia. Right in that time of chaos, at the corner of the map, a man appeared at the head of a small tribe in northwestern Anatolia after a long time had passed, Osman Gazi. This young leader, who would later give his name to the empire, was making the first step of a centuries-long legend without even realizing it. Eyes on Istanbul. An age comes to an end. Those who came after Osman Gazi fixed their eyes on Byzantium, the old landlord of that era. Byzantium was no longer in its old glorious days. It had nothing left but a small part of the Balkans, Greece, and Istanbul. But Istanbul was a tough place to conquer. It was surrounded by the most majestic walls of the Middle Ages and had given no passage to any siege for hundreds of years. If the Ottomans wanted to turn toward the west, they absolutely had to capture this city. First, they took Nicaea, Iznik, in 1331, and then in 1369 they captured Adrianople, Edirne, right next to it, making it their capital. After a short period of internal chaos, such an ambitious and brilliant youth took the throne in 1451 that the course of history changed. Mehmed II, known by his famous name, Fatih Sultan Mehmed, Mehmed the Conqueror. The young sultan besieged the city in April 1453. For 7 full weeks, those so-called impassable walls were brought to ruin, and finally on May 29, 1453, the Ottoman army entered the city. It is an interesting coincidence that the last emperor of Byzantium, Constantine XI, shared the same name as the founder of the city 1,000 years prior, Constantine I, and he died fighting that day. The city had now become the heart and the new capital of the Ottomans. Fitting for the glory of the conquest, Fatih converted the 900-year-old massive Hagia Sophia into a mosque and had those perfect minarets built at its corners.